Om. ॐ ब्रह्मानन्दं परमसुखदं केवलं ज्ञानमूर्तिं द्वन्द्वातीतं गगनसदृशं तत्त्वमस्यादिलक्ष्यम् एकं नित्यं विमलमचलं सर्वधी साक्षिभूतं भावातीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। जय गुरुदेव।
जय गुरुदेव। ओम श्री परमात्मने नमः। अथ नवमोऽध्यायः राजविद्या राजगुह्ययोगः। श्रीभगवानुवाच इदं तु ते गुह्यतमं प्रवक्ष्याम्यनसूयवे ज्ञानं विज्ञानसहितं ज्ञानं विज्ञानसहितं यज्ञात्वा मोक्ष्यसे शुभात्। राजया राजगुह्यं पवित्रमिदमुत्तमं प्रत्यक्षावगमं धर्म्यं सुसुखं कर्तुमव्ययम्। अश्रद्धाना पुरुषा धर्मस्यास्य परन्तप अप्राप्य मां निवर्तन्ते मृत्युसंसारवर्त्मनि। मया ततमिदं सर्वं जगदव्यक्तमूर्तिना मत्स्थानि सर्वभूतानि न चाहं तेष्वस्थितः न च मत्स्थानि भूतानि पश्य मे योगमैश्वरम्। भूतभृन्न च भूतस्थः ममात्मा भूतभावनः। यथाकाशस्थितो नित्यं वायु सर्वत्र गोमहान् तथा सर्वाणि भूतानि मत्स्थानीत्युपधारय। सर्वभूतानि कौन्तेय प्रकृतिं यान्ति मामिकां कल्पक्षये पुनस्तानि कल्पादौ विसृजाम्यहम्। प्रकृतिं स्वामवष्टभ्य विसृजामि पुनः पुनः। भूतग्राममिमं कृत्स्नं avasham prakrutirvashat न च मां तानि कर्माणि निबध्नन्ति धनञ्जय उदासीनवदासीनम् असक्तं तेषु कर्मसु मयाध्यक्षेण प्रकृतिः सूयते सचराचरम् हेतुनानेन कौन्तेय जगद्विपरिवर्तते अवजानन्ति मां मूढा मानुषीं तनुमाश्रितं परं भावमजानन्तः मम भूतमहेश्वरं मोघाशामोघकर्माणः मोघज्ञानाविचेतसः राक्षसीं मासुरीं चैव प्रकृतिं मोहिनीं श्रिताः महात्मानस्तु मां पार्थ दैवीं प्रकृतिमाश्रिताः भजन्त्यनन्यमनसः ज्ञात्वा भूतादिमव्ययम् सततं कीर्तयन्तो मां यतन्तश्च दृढव्रताः नमस्यन्तश्च मां भक्त्या नित्ययुक्ता उपासते ज्ञानयज्ञेन चाप्यन्ये यजन्तो मामुपासते एकत्वेन पृथक्त्वेन बहुधा विश्वतो मुखम्. Hari Om, Jai Gurudev. Could you please guide me from where I should start, as yesterday I will just chant the shloka and then please guide me. Where should I start from? Mayadhyakshena prakritihi suyate sacharacharam hetuna nena kaunteya jagad viparivartate. Owing to me, the presiding presence, the Prakriti creates the world consisting of movables and immovables. Because of this reason, Arjuna, the world undergoes changes. So I believe we had completed till the creation, why the creation, and for whom the creation. Should I, Brahmaraji, could you please just let me know where I should start from?
Yeah, you can start from, where is that?
Yeah, this was for whom is the creation.
Yeah, you can start from that.
Okay. Okay. So Prakriti creates in the presence of Bhagwan. Satchitananda Swarupa Bhagwan. For whom is the creation? I'll just read the last paragraph just to get the connection. In the last two verses, we saw that Prakriti creates the world consisting of things that move and things that do not move. It also sustains and destroys it. Destruction is in the sense of dissolving creation back to itself. Prakriti can do this, Bhagavan says, only because it is blessed by me. With Paramatma as its basis, Prakriti creates everything. Without this basis, it cannot be conscious and therefore cannot create. Prakriti, also called as Maya, draws its existence from Paramatma and is conscious because of Paramatma and therefore can create by itself. If the word I, Aham, is used keeping the Maya Upadhi in view, the Lord can say, I create Aham Srijami. But in reality, that Aham is purely Paramatma. And to say that I create is only a referential statement. Then again, Bhagwan says, these actions do not affect me at all. Nacha mang tani karmani nibadnanti. Because I am like one who is absolutely indifferent. Udasinavata. This is from my own standpoint, from where there is no action at all. We have two types of statements here, which understood together is jnana. Similarly, when you say I do, aham karomi, all this is involved. The action that obtains in the upadhi, such as the body, mind, sense complex, is superimposed upon the self, and then you say I do. If that is understood, the fact that you do not do anything, even when you seem to do all types of actions, should also be very clear. It is for this reason Bhagavan says that these karmas do not bind him. So that is the secret of the creation. For whom is the creation? Shankara poses an interesting question here. When the Lord has no connection to objects of enjoyment, and when there is no other conscious being to be an enjoyer, for what reason does he create the world? Is it for another? If the creation is for another enjoyer, we must first establish that there is another. Is there another? The mantra that Shankara quoted previously said that there is only one Lord, Eko Devaha, one conscious being concealed in all the beings, Sarva Bhuteshu Gudaha. This means, as we have seen earlier, that there is only one self, which by nature is conscious and happens to be this entire creation. There is no multiplicity here at all. Sarvam Brahmaiva Neha Nana Asti Kinchana. Even the Jagat is not a second thing because it is Mithya. This is what the Shruti says. Now suppose you say there are many Atmas, then we must ask, is the second Atma known to you or not? If you say there is a second Atma, you have to say it is known to you. How would another be known? By Atma. If it is known, then we will ask whether it is known by Atma or Anatma. Suppose you say it is known by Atma. To know there is a second Atma, you must be able to see the difference between your own Atma and the second Atma. To do that, you must first see what is the peculiarity in your Atma that makes it distinguishable from the second one. If you look into your Atma, what do you see? White, black? If you see a black Atma, does the blackness belong to Atma or Anatma? If it belongs to Anatma, how can you say it is you? If it belongs to Atma, how are you going to see it? A property of Atma which you have to see should be an object. And Atma being yourself, you can never see it as an object. In order to see anything, you must have Kartri Karma Bheda. The seer must be different from the seen. So, to look into any particular feature of Atma, you have to divide Atma into two, the seer Atma and the seen Atma. How can you say that Atma is both seer and seen? It is not possible at all. So you cannot see the features in your own Atma which will distinguish it from another Atma. Thus, the difference between one Atma and another cannot be known by Atma. By Anatma, then you have to say it is known by Anatma. But Anatma is inert, Jada. It is something that I see. Being inert, Anatma cannot see anything at all. Therefore, this difference is not seen by either Atma or Anatma. If it is not seen, you cannot prove there is another Atma. Then Shankara probes this further, assuming for the sake of argument that this difference exists. Is it different or non-different from Atma? If you say it is not identical with Atma, it becomes a property, a dharma of Atma, which is Anatma. If you say it is identical with Atma, then we have the same problem of establishing how you are seeing it. There is no pramana for it because Atma cannot see its own features. It does not have that kind of subject-object division. To summarize, if there are many Atmas, we must be able to distinguish one from the other. And to do that, we must be able to establish differences among them. In order to establish the differences, first you must see your Atma having this feature and another Atma having other features. Unless you have established the differences between Atmas, you cannot establish the multiplicity of Atma. If your Atma is Sat Chit Ananda, then what about the other Atma? If you say Atmas are many and all of them are Sat Chit Ananda, how can there be another Ananda other than this Ananda which is limitless? If one Satchit Ananda Atma is limitless, where is the possibility of another limitless Atma? There is no second limitlessness. That is why you can say, along with Ishvara, Maya Adhyakshena Prakriti Suyate. That is knowledge. So this is a takeaway line, as we have already, Swamiji had proved. The whole teaching is that you should be able to say, along with Lord Krishna, by me, everything is presided over. Because when he says me, that me is Sat Chit Ananda Atma, and there is only one Sat Chit Ananda Atma. Can perhaps a second Atma be inferred? Even though you do not see Atma, one may argue that you can infer it because a person responds when you talk to him. You are not inferring Atma. You only infer that the mind is present. You never confront another Atma. You confront the body, which is Anatma, or even the thought perhaps by presumption. But the other person is confronting the same thought. Therefore, neither you nor he confronts Atma. Since it can never be confronted, you cannot know another Atma to count as a second. Unless there is an enjoyer, there is no necessity for a creation. When you create something, either you should enjoy it or someone else should enjoy it. We have just seen that there is only one Chetana Atma. There is only one Chetana Atma. Therefore, no other Atma is available to be an enjoyer. Then who enjoys this world? Is the creation meant for Ishvara himself? If Srishti is from its own sake, Paramatma should enjoy the Srishti, and to do that, it must become an enjoyer. Now, to enjoy something, there must be a change on the part of the enjoyer. Previously, he was not enjoying, now he is, because enjoyment is a state of experience. It is something that did not exist before, exists now, and will not exist later. You enjoy for the time being. Enjoyment being a particular mental disposition, vritti vishesha, there must be a change, vikriya, into and out of that state. So, Paramatma should undergo a change in order to be an enjoyer of the Srishti which it has created. Shankara says that Ishvara does not undergo any change whatsoever. He is a Vikriya. I repeat, as there was a breaking of voice, and please do let me know if there is too much breaking of voice. I am repeating, is the creation meant for Ishvara himself? If Srishti is for its own sake, Paramatma should enjoy the Srishti, and to do that, it must become an enjoyer. Now, to enjoy something, there must be a change on the part of the enjoyer. Previously, he was not enjoying, now he is. Because enjoyment is a state of experience. It is something that did not exist before, exists now, and will not exist later. You enjoy for the time being. Enjoyment being a particular mental disposition, vritti vishesha, there must be a change, vikriya, into and out of that state. So, Paramatma should undergo a change in order to be an enjoyer of the Srishti, which it has created. Shankara says that Ishvara does not undergo any change whatsoever. He is avikriya. So Paramatma cannot become an enjoyer. That is one reason why the creation cannot be for itself. Further, Paramatma does not have any sense of inadequacy that would prompt it to have a thought to create. Atma is Paripurna, one who is limitless, who is full. When there can be no desire to become complete, why should he create the world? So, Paramatma can neither create nor enjoy the creation. Thus, no one can say anything about the creation of the world. So beautiful. So here Swamiji has very well explained that Paramatma is Purna, and there is, like, we human beings, when we feel to eat gulab jamun, there is a state of mind which is craving. Then after eating the gulab jamun, there is a state of mind which feels complete. But for Paramatma, it is not like that. Ishvara does not undergo any change, and he is avikriya. That is why. And in another thing, Paramatma is full. He doesn't feel any inadequacy or incompleteness for which he has to create. He is always Purna. So, Atma is Paripurna and Avikriya. The question, why creation, is untenable. When Shankara asked, why this creation? What answer can you give? Shankara says the question and answer are both untenable. If you say that there is only one Atma Chaitanya, there is no other Bhokta. In that case, why do you ask this question? You seem to understand non-duality, so there is no question. If you understand that only one Chaitanya Atma exists, there is no real Srishti for any purpose. And the question, why is there a creation, is untenable. When even to ask the question is not proper, to answer it is certainly not proper. Shruti herself expects this. Elsewhere, she says, Ko adha veda ka iha provo pravochat kutah agata kuta
को
iyam
अद्धा
क्षम्यताम
को अद्धा वेदा कुत आजाता कुत इयं विसृष्टिः
अस्तु को आधा वेदा
अद्धा
का
को सॉरी को अद्धा वेदा क इह
अद्धा
प्रवोचत कुत आजाता कुत इयं विसृष्टिः
अस्तु को अद्धा वेदा का इहा प्रवोचत कुत आगता कुत इयं विसृष्टिः
कुत आजाता
कुत आजाता it is not agata ajata kshamyatam it is from it is there
this
ko
is from the
adha
Nasadiya
veda.
Sukta. Yeah.
This is from which source, Pramanaji?
This is from the Nasadiya Sukta from the Rig Veda. It's the 10th canto and the 129th verse.
Ko adha veda ka iha pravocha kuta ajata kuta iyam visrushtihi kaha who adha directly veda knows this Paramatma kaha who iha here with reference to this Paramatma pravochat can talk kutah from where ajata has this creation come kutah where is iyam visrishtihi this creation is so profound. Who knows this jagat? Who exactly knows everything? Who is the one who sees the world? There is no jagat here to see. Other than Atma, you cannot see the jagat. And in the Atma, you do not see the jagat at all. Who would be able to talk about this subject matter? Meaning, who would be able to answer a question like this? Nobody would, because there is no jagat. Look at this wonder. From where? From where has this Srishti come? This repetition as kuta, etc. is for the sake of showing perturbation. Sambrahma, as when you say, where is he? Where is he? Brahmaraji, does it mean that when there is mana, there is whole creation, the whole srishti, but when there is namaha, there is no srishti at all, right? With the mind, there is jagat, and when there is, once
Yeah,
you go
put
within.
you've put it very simply, very beautiful.
Is the creation Bhagwan's Leela, amusement? Some argue that it is Bhagwan's Leela. Then his play is my back pain, my heart attack, my stomach ulcer. What kind of play is that? If he plays and makes me play too, then we can say Bhagwan is just interested in play. So he created some others to play with. But it must be play for the others or it is sadism. And we see that the world is not play. So we cannot say it is Leela. Even if it were play, play is for someone who wishes to enjoy. If Atma is avikriya, then how can there be Leela for Atma? In pure Chaitanya, there is no Leela. And there is no purpose in it because Ishvara has no sense of limitation or inadequacy which would motivate him to create something. There is no purpose, prayojana, even for Ishvara, much less for Paramatma. Ishvara is the Atma obtaining in the Maya Upadhi, making Atma omniscient, Sarvagnya. The omniscient Atma cannot be a desirer because he has no sense of limitation or inadequacy. This is a very beautiful paragraph. I'm reading once again. And there is no purpose in it because Ishvara has no sense of limitation or inadequacy which would motivate him to create something. There is no purpose, prayojana, even for Ishvara, much less for Paramatma. Ishvara is the Atma obtaining in the Maya Upadhi, making Atma omniscient, Sarvagnya. The omniscient Atma cannot be a desirer because he has no sense of limitation or inadequacy. When creation is impossible, how do we account for it? Therefore, creation is not possible. So, how do we account for all this? What we call creation is nothing but Maya. Anything that is untenable is made tenable by Maya. I repeat, there is a breaking of voice. When creation is impossible, how do we account for it? Therefore, creation is not possible. So, how do we account for all this? What we call creation is nothing but Maya. Anything that is untenable is made tenable by Maya. If you ask how Maya can make it tenable, that is what Maya is. It makes the untenable tenable. This has already been shown by Bhagavan in the 5th chapter. Ajnanena avritam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavaha. Knowledge is covered by ignorance. Because of that, living beings are deluded. The idea is that the whole question arises only from the standpoint of creation, Srishti. Only when you accept a Srishti do you say Ishvara with the Maya Upadhi is the cause of creation. Then you can say Atma qualified by Maya Upadhi is called Ishvara, and Paramatma without the Upadhi is the cause that does not undergo any change and is called Vivarta Upadana Karana. That is what is said here. Maya adhyakshena prakritihi suyate sacharacharam. Atma, without giving up its nature, becomes the cause for everything. It is all only from the standpoint of a creation, not from the standpoint of Atma. This is a takeaway line. I will just read once again. The idea is that the whole question arises only from the standpoint of creation, Srishti. Only when you accept a Srishti do you say Ishvara with the Maya Upadhi is the cause of creation. Then you can say Atma qualified by Maya Upadhi is called Ishvara, and Paramatma without the Upadhi is the cause that does not undergo any change and is called Vivarta Upadana Karana. That is what is said here. Maya adhyakshena prakritihi suyate sacharacharam. Atma, without giving up its nature, becomes the cause for everything. It is all only from the standpoint of a creation, not from the standpoint of Atma. From the standpoint of Atma, the question is untenable. If anyone wants me to repeat any paragraph, please do let me know. In Sat Chit Ananda Atma, there is no Jagat. So there is no necessity as to seek an answer as to how this world came about. Since it is not there in Sat Chit Ananda, there is no reason to talk about it. It looks as though the Jagat is one thing, Sat Chit Ananda is another. That is not true either, because when you see the Jagat, Sat Chit Ananda is present. There is no Jagat separate from Sat Chit Ananda, but in Sat Chit Ananda, there is no Jagat. Very beautiful. I repeat the last line. There is no Jagat separate from Satchit Ananda, but in Satchit Ananda, there is no Jagat. The question of how this Jagat came about does not arise. From the standpoint of Sat Chit Ananda, only Sat Chit Ananda is there. When I look at the Jagat, I find that it is not independent of Sat Chit Ananda. When this is so, the statements Matsthani Sarva Bhutani, all the beings are in me, and Nacha Matsthani Bhutani, the beings are not in me, are not contradictory but very clear. It means that there is nothing else except me, Sat Chit Ananda. So the Jagat cannot come from anywhere else. It comes only from Sat Chit Ananda Atma. And there must be some cause. And that cause is Ishvara. Therefore, the Lord says, Maya adhyakshena prakritihi suyate sacharacharam. Blessed by me, the Atma alone, Prakriti creates everything. Not only does it create everything, being blessed by me, it also sustains everything and resolves everything into me. By my grace, the world exists. So beautiful. The creation is neither for Paramatma nor for any other, because there is no other. Therefore, it is very clear the Srishti is not for the sake of anyone. You say there is no other Atma except Paramatma, which does not require a Srishti at all. You yourself have dismissed the possibility of there being a Srishti. So why do you ask the question? Why is there a creation? Once you know this much, you yourself have answered the question. Still, there is something to see here. Why raise such a question if it is untenable? When Srushti, Kshamyatam, when Shruti says, Ko Adha, Kshamyatam, Adha Veda Ka Iha Pravochat Kutah Ajata Kutah Iyam Shrishtihi. It is to show that there is no real Srishti. Kshamyatam, I'll just read that. Ko Adha Veda Ka Iha Pravochat Kuta Ajata Kuta Iyam Visrushtihi. A question. It is to show that there is no real Srishti. A question and answer are possible only when there is something real, but it is not real. Prakriti itself does not create because it has no existence of its own. Atma does not create either. Therefore, it is purely by Maya, then everything is possible. We will just recall the definition of Maya. Ya ma iti Maya. That which is not there. The reality is that Atma does not create, and Prakriti alone cannot create. It has to be presided over, supported by Paramatma. I repeat, the reality is that Atma does not create, and Prakriti alone cannot create. It has to be presided over, supported by Paramatma. Therefore, the Prakriti's existence is the existence of Paramatma. The Prakriti's capacity to create, etc., and the knowledge that is necessary are all due to Paramatma alone. Prakriti, blessed by Paramatma, becomes the cause of and accounts for the existence of the creation. Thus, Bhagavan says, I create, aham visrujami, only from the standpoint of Prakriti. He himself is not the creator and therefore says, Nacha mam tani karmani nibadnanti. Those actions do not affect me at all. You can say the same thing. The body, mind, and sense organs all perform their activities being presided over, being blessed by Atma. But those activities do not bind me at all, because between Prakriti and Atma there is no real connection. A connection is between two entities enjoying the same degree of reality. Here, one is Satya and the other is Mithya. And Satya is not affected by Mithya. Therefore, Prakriti is a superimposition, Aropa, upon Atma. Because you see everything, there is a Prakriti which is Aropita upon Atma. It is definitely superimposed because once you say Atma is Param Brahma, there is no question of Prakriti. You have to understand these two standpoints because this understanding is moksha. So beautiful. It is an understanding of one's freedom from enjoyership and doership. Everything is connected to Atma, which is the basis of everything. At the same time, Atma remains unconnected. It is always untouched, free from doership and enjoyership. It does not perform action, much less does it enjoy the result of an action. You are already free and all your karmas are completely nullified. This is the whole vision. So beautiful. I just repeat this last paragraph since it is the whole essence. You have to understand these two standpoints because this understanding is moksha. It is an understanding of one's freedom from enjoyership and doership. Everything is connected to Atma, which is the basis of everything. At the same time, Atma remains unconnected. It is always untouched, free from doership and enjoyership. It does not perform action, much less does it enjoy the result of an action. You are already free and all your karmas are completely nullified. This is the whole vision. Therefore, Shankara says here, the me referred to in the verse is the Atma of all beings, which is by nature always pure, enlightened and free. Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Swabhava. It is not that the Lord means to say, I am Satchit Ananda Atma for a particular being and not for another. In fact, he says, I am the Atma of all beings. Lord Krishna, the one who is saying this, is Ishvara, who is Paramatma, which is Jagat Karana, which is non-separate from anyone. And it is Nitya Shuddha, always free from all karmas, free from both Papa and Punya, free from sorrow, etc. And it is Nitya Buddha, without any ignorance. And therefore, Mukta Swabhava, always free. So, you need not purify or enlighten the Atma because it is not impure, nor does it have any ignorance. You need not free the Atma because it is not in any way bound. It is omniscient and the cause of the entire creation. So beautiful.
Yeah, I think it's worth reading again.
Yes,
Yeah.
very profound. I will repeat,
Yeah.
Dr. Renu. I
Thank
will
you.
surely repeat. The last two paragraphs, please pay attention. Very, very beautiful. And try to recall the Jnanavali at the same time. Asangoham. You have to understand these two standpoints because this understanding is moksha. It is an understanding of one's freedom from enjoyership and doership. Everything is connected to Atma, which is the basis of everything. At the same time, Atma remains unconnected. It is always untouched, free from doership and enjoyership. It does not perform action, much less does it enjoy the result of an action. You are already free and all your karmas are completely nullified. This is the whole vision. Therefore, Shankara says here, the me referred to in the verse is the Atma of all beings, which is by nature always pure, enlightened, and free. Nitya Shuddha, Nitya Buddha, Nitya Mukta Swabhava. It is not that the Lord means to say, I am Sat Chit Ananda Atma for a particular being and not for another. In fact, he says, I am the Atma of all beings. Lord Krishna, the one who is saying this, is Ishvara, who is Paramatma, which is Jagat Karana, which is non-separate from anyone. And it is Nitya Shuddha, always free from all karmas, free from both Papa and Punya, free from sorrow, etc. And it is Nitya Buddha, without any ignorance, and therefore Mukta Swabhava, always free. So you need not purify or enlighten the Atma because it is not impure, nor does it have any ignorance. You need not free the Atma because it is not in any way bound. It is omniscient and the cause of the entire creation. Even though it is the Atma of all beings. If anyone wants me to repeat before we go to the next verse, this is the fundamental secret of moksha. So please let me know if anyone wants to share or if anyone wants to repeat. Astu. Even though it is the Atma of all beings. Avajananti mam mudha manushim tanumashritam param bhavamajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Avajanantaha, not knowing, mama parama bhavam, my limitless nature, Bhuta Maheshwaram, as the Lord of all beings. Mudhaha, the deluded. Mam, me. Manushim, Tanum, Ashritam, the one who obtains in the human body. Avajananti, fail to recognize. Avajanantaha, Mama Parama Bhavam, Bhuta Maheshwaram, Mudhaha, Mam Manushim Tanum Ashritam Avajananti, not knowing my limitless nature as the Lord of all beings. The deluded fail to recognize me, the one who obtains in the human body. I repeat, not knowing my limitless nature as the Lord of all beings. The deluded fail to recognize me, the one who obtains in the human body. Mudaha, the deluded, means the people who do not have this discriminative knowledge. They have the notion of doership and a sense of guilt for all their commissions and omissions. Naturally, they have a sense of enjoyership for the results of their actions. These are the people who do not recognize that Atma is a karta, non-doer, a bhokta, non-enjoyer, and that things take place as they should. Atma is only a blessing, a presence. The doership and enjoyership are superimposed upon Atma and do not belong to it. Those who do not have this discrimination completely neglect or disrespect me in the sense that they do not recognize me, nor do they think I am to be inquired into or understood. Why? Because they do not know my limitless nature. Mama param bhavam ajanantaha. Shankara says that Atma is like space. That is, it is not limited by any particular form or location, always pure and all pervasive. And Akasha itself is within it. The whole creation is within Akasha. But this is still interior, subtler to Akasha, in that it is the basis of Akasha itself. I repeat, this is so important, so beautiful. Mudaha, the deluded, means the people who do not have this discriminative knowledge. They have the notion of doership and a sense of guilt for all their commissions and omissions. Naturally, they have a sense of enjoyership for the results of their actions. These are the people who do not recognize that Atma is a karta, non-doer, a bhokta, non-enjoyer, and that things take place as they should. Atma is only a blessing, a presence. The doership and enjoyership are superimposed upon Atma and do not belong to it. Those who do not have this discrimination completely neglect or disrespect me in the sense that they do not recognize me, nor do they think I am to be inquired into or understood. Why? Because they do not know my limitless nature. Mama param bhavam ajanantaha. Shankara says that Atma is like space. That is, it is not limited by any particular form or location, always pure and all pervasive. And Akasha itself is within it. The whole creation is within Akasha, but this is still interior, subtler to Akasha, in that it is the basis of Akasha itself. I think I will stop here. I will just read those two shlokas. Mayadhyakshena. मयाध्यक्षेण प्रकृतिः सूयते सचराचरं हेतुनानेन कौन्तेय जगद्विपरिवर्तते. Owing to me, the presiding presence, the Prakriti creates the world consisting of movables and immovables. Because of this reason, Arjuna, the world undergoes changes. And the next shloka, which we have just started. Even this is to be contemplated. Ko addha vedaka iha pravochat kuta ajata kuta iyam visrushtihi. Avajananti mam mudha manushim tanumashritam param bhavamajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Not knowing my limitless nature as the Lord of all beings, the deluded fail to recognize me, the one who obtains in the human body. So with that, we will just close our eyes. Nityoham Shuddhoham Buddhoham Muktoham Shivoham Shivoham Shivaswarupoham. Please close your eyes and share your takeaways.
Today was such a beautiful, beautiful learning. Just wanted to share in brief as we were reading, as listening to this, to Swamiji's commentary on these two verses. What kept coming to my mind was the Purna mantra. Purnamidam Purnamadaha Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. So Atma is Paripurna and it's Purna. But the Jagat also apparently appears to us as being Purna. They both have apparently seem to have their parallel realities, parallel existence. And all this is only because of the Maya Upadhi that Paramatma takes on and takes on the mantle of Ishvara. And therefore the Srishti happens. Now for a person who is caught up in the Maya Jagat and is going round and round in circles, he will continue to go into the circle of samsara unless he realizes, unless that mumukshutvam happens and he gets onto the path and cleanses himself with by karma yoga, gets rid of the raga dveshas, and he develops that atma shuddhi and atma naishchalya, then it is like there are two balls, two spheres One is Purna, the Atma Chaitanya is Purna, the other Jagat also apparently is Purna. So once you're so clean from within, then all you see is your reflection in the Satchidananda Atma. That is the recognition. Suppose that is the knowledge. But as long as there is even a little bit of mala there, you would not be able to see your reflection in the Satchidananda Atma. Very, very beautiful session today. Yeah, I would request everyone to share, and just grateful to each one of you for being there, hand-holding, to all the lineage of teachers and masters who have given us this beautiful knowledge. A blissful Guru Purnima to all of you.
I think please convey our respect and gratitude to Nana for getting us started on this thought.
For sure, yes.
You know, I just heard your the concise part of it. You know, how many things you read, it comes back to the same point, right? I mean, for the knowledge to occur or realize that mind has to be clear, and so having the senses under control, and the eka tattva, you know, so that has to be in mind all the time. So that, I mean, I've been doing something as well as I was listening at. I think one is undivided attention. You need to understand every line as we're reading it. But it was impossible for me to do that today. But anyway, it was nice. And I also, Bhagavan Krishna as being a Jagat Guru, in all the pranams to Lord Krishna, as well as all the gurus that that taught us, and especially, you know, my gratitude and pranams to Nanaji also. Did you guys did the Guru Sastram already today? That's nice. Thank you.
Anyone else wants to share?
Do you or anybody can explain that? Do you remember how the why God created the world, and then that's tenable and untenable thing?
Yeah.
You could
It is that,
explain
yeah.
that.
In fact, the question itself is not valid, in the sense,
Yeah.
when there is only one, there is none other, then
Right.
where is the question of why is this creation?
Right.
So the truth is, there is only one, that limitless Satchidananda,
Mm-hmm.
So there is no question of saying, oh, Bhagwan created it for his Leela, for his enjoyment. Why this creation? Because
Yeah.
all that is because of the veil of Maya. It is the veil of Maya that using that as Upadhi,
Yeah.
Ishvara, the Paramatma, Atma, with the veil of Maya as the Upadhi becomes Ishvara, and that is from where the whole Srishti happens.
Right.
But actually
Yeah.
speaking, the
Mm-hmm.
Jagat is only an illusion. It is only an aropa. It is only a superimposition
On
on
Sachidanand.
the Satya, on the Satya.
Mm-hmm.
So then, therefore, the question, why this creation itself is not valid.
Mm.
The whole thing is the play of Maya. Like yesterday, someone, Sumaji was saying, the whole world is the play and display of consciousness.
But remember we had the same question, right? Where did the ignorance start? Where did the first people
Yeah.
start, right? But then again, I think as creation happened, all the elements came, and probably some of these things all formed uh, by like by itself. So then it becomes what do you call that? Mm, like the karma, whatever that is make us to come in the same cycle again and again. That I understand part of it. That's nice. So he's probably not saying anything because of that one person, that one being there. Hmm.
And also, when you look at it, he is free. Atma is completely free from karma, from doership and enjoyership.
Mm.
Whereas
Right.
in the samsara, in the jagat,
Mm.
because the way the jagat is created, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. All the rules of the jagat work. Therefore, you acquire agami karma, there is sanchita karma, there is prarabdha karma, and it goes on and on. It has its own mechanics in the jagat.
Mm.
You see, so on one aspect, that is purna. Jagat is purna in itself, and there are some rules, regulations, dharma, all that is there from one standpoint. Which is why, I always had this question, when all is there, then if, what is the use of us doing whatever we are doing? When pairs of opposites are anyway there, why should we hold on to only the dharma aspect and not? So that question kind of so-called got answered today, in the sense that it is important for you to purify yourself. So if there are two spheres, this is what I had imagined actually when Bela was so beautifully reading today. There are two spheres, both are Purna. The Pratibimba of Atma is this sphere called Jagat, the fusion, the image, so to say. Now, this image is all, if you're not following dharma, if you're seeped in raga dvesha and all the negativity, it is all very, very, should I say, hazy, a lot of blotches and everything. So, but this Atma Chaitanya is pure. It is like Satchidananda. It is effulgent, ever pure, Nischala, and um, it is it is of course paripurna. So nirmala, nitya nirmala, shuddha, and it's mukta. It is free. So for this image for us, because we are so identified with the jagat, we are so caught up with the maya of illusion. In order for us to come out of that, we have to cleanse ourselves. That cleaning is happening with all this knowledge and everything. That makes sense. Now, the third chapter fits in so beautifully over here. Third chapter, the sixth chapter, where you have to do the abhyasa. What is this abhyasa we have to do? Vairagya is to repeatedly clean each of that little blotches that are there in that image, and then you will see the image is as pure as the original.
Mhm.
I think that is the knowledge where you realize that Mayadhyakshena Prakritihi Suyate Sacharacharam. Each one of us can say that with authority. We can say that with conviction that there is only one, and it is only from me that everything is happening.
Right. Yeah,
So we are,
that understanding of what is, yeah, that I always wondered that, how do we kind of get that in? Even that day when I wanted to ask that question, but then I didn't clearly had it in my mind. Like, say, when you do the japa or mantra, like we try to have that image in front of us, right? I mean, it's actually, if you closed your eyes, it's in your mind only, but it seems like it's in front of you. We are projecting that image, or does it have to be like keeping that because we are looking more inward? We should be able to visualize that, or like again we are still in the same mindset, like visualizing, hearing, things like that. So I'm wondering how that, for Saguna Upasana,
Mm,
do you feel that in your chest, like in your heart, like bringing that image and chanting, whatever that mantra is? That would be something, that's individualized, but what is the right way to look at it? I,
yeah.
I have
No,
that,
well, even to make a beginning is fine. I mean,
yeah.
there are so many methods, there are so many schools of thought. Like when we do
Yeah.
Sahaj Samadhi meditation, we
Mm,
um, we take the mantra every time we have. So we are given that technique in Sahaj Samadhi meditation.
mm,
Likewise, there are so many, like what Shankaracharya says is what Nana mentioned in the session is uh, the Manasa Vyapara. There is a Sanskrit verse for that.
mhm.
Mm,
Yeah, I
I've-
wanted to know what the Shastra Vigitam is like, in terms of some of it. I'd seen, even this Dayananda Saraswati, Swamiji Saraswati also, he says, he does his meditation videos. I've seen, like, he just chants Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, like that.
mm,
But when he keeps saying that, like, some of the things easily comes to your, but we are not supposed to be objectified for the Nirguna Upasana. Like, it seems like when you're bringing it in front of you, it becomes like an object, like, so we
yeah.
want to have that as a thought, but it's something inside you. That's how you feel and you worship that way, or, that
Mm.
question arises in my head, but then
I think
then
as we keep doing it, you
yeah,
might reach that place. See
yeah.
what Shankaracharya says about dhyana is
Mm,
vijatiya vritti rahita sajatiya vritti pravaha manasa vyaparaha is the sagunopasana, wherein your
mm,
all the different thoughts you remove and you're only focused on sajatiya vritti pravaha. There is only one thought, one train of thought that is
mm,
coming up. That
mm.
then that manasa vyapara, when your mind is occupied in that, only that, you're even if it's going away, you're again bringing it back to that. That is
Right.
that is
Mm-hmm.
jnana.
Mm. Yeah, that the other day Nana was mentioning, like, when your thought goes away, but
Mm.
then also you said that Manas, what is that? Atmas Sama or
Atma
something like,
samstam.
yeah, Samastam. So which means, so we, even if you think something else, you just bring back your memory to, I mean, your thoughts to the one what you're doing. That's, but you don't have to, oh, we made a mistake or something like that,
No,
right?
no, no.
Yeah.
Even that thought that you get is the basis of that thought is Atma. So then you're again, your training, your all your focus and all that is on the Atma Vishaya only. That is the Atma Samstha.
Right. Okay. So
Right.
that's what I'm thinking. Like now we know the thoughts are the base. I mean, it arises from the consciousness, and the
Yeah.
thought is also it has some reason basis for that. So it doesn't come without having any reason for it. It sounds like it. Anyway, that's nice. Thank you.
So shall we go to chapter 6? Yesterday we were doing this Shobhana Dhyasa. We did Abhyasa, we're down to Vairagya. So he talks of the distance that we have to create. Contemplation is appreciation of a fact. In this way, the distance between the thought and the self becomes very clear. The thought is this. Thought is not everything. Thought is imbued with the self. Imbued is pervaded with the self. This becomes very clear. And if I turn my attention towards the self, it becomes contemplation. I appreciate the self as independent of the thought. The more you appreciate this fact, thought becomes purely a role. It is not taken as everything. This is the distance that we come to know. A distance that does not imply physical distance or a particular condition of the mind. It is insight, appreciation itself, and this appreciation becomes the reality. This then is the practice that Krishna says would enable one to master the mind. So here I would just like to interject here saying, here he's talked about the thought. Thought is not everything. Similarly, if we extrapolate it to the Jagat, Jagat is not everything. The Jagat, the thought is imbued with the self. Jagat is pervaded by the self. But the self is not in the self, or the self is independent of the Jagat. So the more and more we appreciate this fact that Atma is independent of the Jagat is only a superimposition on the Atma, then that Jagat is taken only as a role. And then there is this distance that is from an insight that Jagat is Mithya and the Atma is Satya. This appreciation itself becomes the reality. This then is the practice that Krishna says would enable one to master the mind. But having said that, there is the Vyavahara Satta. So when we live in the Jagat, we will have to follow the rules of the Jagat. I mean, if you put your hands in a flame, your hand, of course, will be burnt. Because you can't say, I recognize that Atma is Satya, Jagat is only Mithya, so let me put my hand in the fire. So that sensibility has to be there. I mean, I suppose got the point across, right? So why the mind wanders? The second means for making the mind abide in itself, mentioned here by Krishna, is Vairagya, objectivity. Why does the mind go here and there in the first place? The mind goes elsewhere purely due to lack of interest. The nature of the mind is to go wherever there is some kick, wherever there is something more interesting. Some interest must be there, and towards that it goes. Thus, without your trying to dwell upon anything in particular, the mind naturally goes towards the objects that it finds more interesting. What comes to my mind is, I mean, this was in the past, when you sit in front of the TV and then you're watching something and there's some boring advertisement comes. What do people normally do? They shift the channel. They go on surfing the channels to check what is interesting. So that's exactly how the mind works. it goes elsewhere only due to lack of interest in whatever it is seeing. So it wants to find something more interesting. The mind goes towards an object of love and towards an object of pain also, since pain means that something requires attention. These are the two places towards which the mind goes without any effort on your part. Why? Because one is interesting and the other requires attention. In an object of love, there is a certain joy, a certain pleasantness to which the mind naturally goes. And towards any object that hurts you or has hurt you, the mind also goes quite naturally. One is positive, whereas the other, being something that requires attention, is negative. Objects of pain can be taken care of by abhyasa, whereas vairagya is with reference to objects of love. By abhyasa, a certain distance can be developed between oneself and the pain, although this may take some time. Vairagya is mentioned here separately because the source of all desires for happiness and security is what we call shobhana dhyasa, meaning that you superimpose certain attributes upon various objects in the world and then think these will bring you happiness and security. That a particular object is going to make me more secure is one such attribute. Or by achieving this or that, I am going to be different. I am going to become somebody. I am going to be acceptable to myself and to others. First to others and thereby to myself. Why we seek acceptance from others? This seeking acceptability from others is nothing but self-acceptance. Self-acceptance through others. Why should anyone accept you? So that you can accept yourself. Therefore, seeking the acceptance of others can always be reduced to self-acceptance. Whether you seek the acceptance of others or you seek self-acceptance, it amounts to self-acceptance alone. Thus, either you seek self-acceptance through others or you yourself understand that you do not accept yourself and try to find out whether the self is acceptable, which is the real way of dealing with the problem in fact. This is so fundamental. So instead of seeking acceptance from others, the main fundamental basis why we seek acceptance from others is to have that self-acceptance. Because somewhere deep down, we do not like the way we are. Therefore, we keep looking at seeking that acceptance from others. And when they say, oh, you're so great, you're so good, then we as though feel good, we accept ourselves. But then what Swamiji is saying is you seek acceptance by yourself, not by going to others. Seeking self-acceptance, then, we superimpose certain attributes upon certain objects, thinking that a particular object is capable of giving something more than it can really give. Superimposing attributes that do not belong to the objects is what we call adhyasa. When what is superimposed, adhyasta, is something positive, according to your thinking, it is called shobhanadhyasa, meaning that which is very pleasing, for which there is a certain enchantment and infatuation. This infatuation or obsession is nothing but a superimposition. Shobhanadhyasa.
Did we read this somewhere else? The Shobhanatyasa? This word sounds
again?
familiar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So the seeking, why we seek acceptance from others, the Shobhanadhyasa meaning here is this, Vairagya is mentioned here separately because
the source of all desires for happiness and security is what we call Shobhana Dhyasa, meaning that you superimpose certain attributes upon various objects in the world and then think these will bring you happiness and security. That a particular object is going to make me more secure is one such attribute. Or by achieving this or that, I'm going to be different. I'm going to be somebody. I'm going to be acceptable to myself and to others. First to others and thereby to myself. So all this is Shobhana Dhyasa. And he goes on to explain why we seek acceptance from others. Is seeking acceptability from others is nothing but self-acceptance. That is self-acceptance through others. Why should anyone accept you? So that you can accept yourself. Therefore, seeking the acceptance of others can always be reduced to self-acceptance. Whether you seek the acceptance of others or you seek self-acceptance, it amounts to self-acceptance alone. Thus, either you seek acceptance through others or you yourself understand that you do not accept yourself and try to find out whether the self is acceptable, which is the real way of dealing with the problem, in fact. So it is again, rather than like how Bela so beautifully put it, rather than go outward, manaha, and seeking acceptance from others, you go namaha, go within and look at yourself and see whether the self is acceptable. Seeking self-acceptance, then, we superimpose certain attributes upon certain objects, thinking that a particular object is capable of giving something more than it can really give. Superimposing attributes that do not belong to the objects is what we call adhyasa. When what is superimposed, adhyasta, is something positive, according to your thinking, it is called Shobhana Dhyasa, meaning that which is very pleasing, for which there is a certain enchantment and infatuation. This infatuation or obsession is nothing but a superimposition, Shobhana Dhyasa. Simple example is, if I eat gulab jamun, I will be happy. So that is your superimposing that your happiness on that gulab jamun. So that is a pleasing, it's a positive attribute. So that is the Shobhana Dhyasa. Swamiji made the distinction very clearly that the mind goes on to objects that give love, that gives a pleasing experience and painful experience. So for painful experience, he said what we use is abhyasa. Time and again, you go back and get a distance yourself from that pain, and that is the way forward. Whereas for objects of love, he says we need to use vairagya, which is why abhyasa and vairagya both are important.
Jai Gurudev, Dr. Brahma, can you give some example of adhyasa, the attributes which do not belong to the object?
Yeah, adhyasa is like, for instance, one is the gulab jamun. Another, it can be, if I achieve this, if I do this, then I will be happy. Like, I don't want to mention sadhana as an example, but then that there was this person who in the ashram who would go touch Gurudev's photograph every time he would go out. So it had become such an obsession for him, such a habit, I would say obsession. So only if he did that he would feel complete, he would feel happy. There was one time when Gurudev himself was there and he had to drive him. He was still going back to the photograph. He says, wait, please wait, I will just finish this and come. So that is the Shobhana Dhyasa. That is, he felt complete only if he did that. So he was superimposing his happiness, his security on that act of touching Gurudev's photograph and coming back. So I don't know whether the...
So adhyasa is different. Like adhyasa is superimposing attributes that do not belong to the object. This is not clear to me.
Yeah, that is what. No, see, this the photograph, Gurudev's photograph is an object.
Yeah.
He's superimposing the attribute of getting that joy if he touches that photograph.
Right.
He's superimposing that. That is so the Gurudev's photograph becomes the adhyasa.
Okay.
Adhyasta. And that what the whole act, that whole thing is the adhyasa. Like for instance, if you gain a degree, or you get a house, or you get a new car, all these are the adhyasta. The car becomes the adhyasta, and you're superimposing your happiness, your joy on that.
Right. Thank you.
So the object
Right, so Shobana Abhyasa and then Adhyasa, right?
Adhyasa and adhyasta. Like the car does not say, it does not come with a bundle of happiness and joy. We are attributing joy to the car. We are attributing joy to whatever, any object for that. Anything anatma, we are attributing it. Isn't it? So that becomes the superimposing attributes. Yeah, I think shall we stop here today? Very beautiful knowledge and beautiful space to be in every morning.
I'm wondering what this Guru Purnima is like, why they chose this day to be the Guru Purnima.
Yeah, I think we'll share that in the group. The thing is, I think it's the day where you feel grateful to the lineage of masters. But regarding this Purnima is taken, I think we'll maybe some of us can share it in the group.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. But it's a beautiful day. It's I think symbolic. Very put it in very short terms. It is like there is one day you just feel grateful to all the lineage of masters and all the knowledge that you've got, whether it is from a master as in the rupa of a master, or from nature, from people around you. It could even be your children who teach you. There are so many, I mean, everything in nature teaches us. So just being grateful for that, the teacher principle in every aspect of life, universe, and being in that fullness of gratitude. I think symbolically that's what it means. Put it in short.
Thank you.
Jai Gurudev. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.
Thank you.